Hello everyone, thanks for joining MeteoMark's Weather. I'm Mark Molnar with your forecast for the tropics all the way synoptically and from the Atlantic to the Pacific. We're going to be watching a train of tropical moisture that's going to be surging here across parts of the MDR, all the way through the Caribbean and eventually the Gulf, and all the way into the eastern part of North America. We're going to be seeing if any of these tropical waves could be forming into anything during the next several days. And here into the western Pacific, we are watching two tropical storms. One of them could become a typhoon and affect some very urban areas over the next several days. I've got all the details for you, and that could mean the difference between some areas getting beneficial rain versus some areas actually getting flooding. And don't forget, I want to welcome everybody to the channel. Thanks for joining MeteoMark's Weather. Let's get into it. All right, so taking a look at our tropics out here, you can see the intertropical convergence zone on our European model, and I'll show you the GFS momentarily. You can see a tropical wave bottled up here towards the Yucatan, Cayman Islands, some showers here moving in the direction of the southern Lesser Antilles, Trinidad, Tobago, Barbados. So we're looking active, and then we have a stalled frontal boundary here we'll have to watch. But here, at least in the short to medium term, there doesn't look like any development. There is a lot of tropical moisture despite the dust out here. And I'll talk more about the dust here as we progress in a couple minutes here. But look at the Yucatan Peninsula, tropical wave. We're looking at showers here across parts of the southern Lesser Antilles. And then, of course, that moisture, look at that tropical moisture, and I'll really be touching on this in my synoptic outlook here several minutes from now in the video. But look at this. As we continue in time, you can see those showers moving up the east coast. We continue to have these stronger tropical waves out here in the MDR. And look at our positioning of our high pressure system, right just due east of Bermuda, and then another one northeast of the Azores. That's going to keep our systems moving on a trajectory like this. And you see that tropical moisture forming all the way around. This is the 23rd, all the way up the east coast. Looks like it's not making it up as far as much of the northeast later on in the week as was initially predicted here. So the European has cut back. It is still showing some rainfall, making it up into the mid-Atlantic and the northeast, especially the closer to the coastline you are. Some in interior sections with this next low pressure system, which I'll talk about. But look at the Gulf opening up. Gulf moisture open for business here. Look at this. Yeah. Southeastern Texas, we could be looking at a lot of rainfall here as we head towards the 25th into the 26th. High pressure up here building in, so drying out across the lakes in the northeast, but still keeping that train of tropical moisture here across the Carolinas here, the mid-Atlantic. And look at these strong tropical waves out here into parts of the MDR and the intertropical convergence zone. Western Caribbean, Jamaica kicking up some showers here towards the 26th, Friday, and then some strong tropical waves. That moisture just continuing up the southeast coast of the U.S. here. Let's just zoom in just a tad here. We can get a better bird's eye view here. And then as we continue towards the 27th, look at this bottled up moisture here. Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, Central America, and then eventually towards the Gulf, that's heading for you. And a very strong tropical wave out here southwest of the Cape Verde Islands. Stalled out frontal boundary off the southeast coast. That could also be the focal point of a lot of shower and thunderstorm action. And then as we continue towards the 28th here, you can see Central America getting a deluge of rain. Strong tropical waves continuing out here into parts of the MDR. We're going to continue to watch those waves. And as we head towards the 29th into the 30th here, you can really start to see European models really showing a train of tropical waves here. And then lots of tropical wave moisture here from the Caribbean into the southeastern and eastern Gulf of Mexico here, even towards Louisiana. We're just going to continue that train of tropical moisture. Now, before we go into the GFS here, I want to make note of something off the east coast. Look at this. This is by the 29th. There is an area of low pressure trying to close off here, just off the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Could this actually be something tropical in nature? We'll have to keep very close watch on this because persistent thunderstorm action, that's how these tropical systems usually try to form here off the East Coast. And here it is as we continue towards the 30th. And before we continue, I just want to make note, if you love this video, if you made it this far, smash that like button, question or comment down below. I'd love to read your questions or comments. Keeps our weather community active. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Subscribe so you're alerted with all my future weather updates. Let's continue. All right, so the GFS here, let's take a look, see what's going on. How much does it agree with the European model? Well, let's see here. So as we head throughout the rest of Monday here, look at that. We have a little bit of a tropical wave here across the southwestern Gulf. That is heading due north, so a lot of moisture heading north with it here across the East Coast, Mid-Atlantic as well. Now, here's the intertropical convergence zone. You see these waves out here, and then the dust being picked up pretty nicely here on the GFS. And as we continue to go out here in time, you can see what's going on. Quite a bit in the way of dust action here at mid-layers, even towards the Northeast Caribbean islands. Intertropical convergence zone, we got a big wave heading off the African coast here as we head towards the 24th into the 25th here. You can see that tropical moisture, the GFS trying to surge it ever so slightly between these two high pressure systems, one across the Great Lakes. And here's our Bermuda high. It's positioned a little bit farther to the west here on the GFS model. And as you can see here across the north central Gulf into Florida, the Carolinas here, Georgia, Tennessee, we're going to continue to watch that tropical moisture as we head towards the 27th, as we get towards the end of the week, next weekend, that tropical moisture continuing to surge, that big conveyor belt across parts of the southeast. Big, strong tropical wave out here in south of the Cape Verde Islands. And as we head towards the 28th into the 29th, look at this, a big slug of dust here heading towards the west-southwest. That's going to keep the intertropical convergence zone, at least in the short to medium term, in check here and across parts of the Caribbean as well. We do have a few showers moving through the Central American countries down here towards Nicaragua, a surge of tropical moisture with that tropical wave. And there's that area that was being picked up here on the European model. Come the end of the month, we could be looking at an area of low pressure just off the Carolinas there trying to form. So that's an area we'll have to continue to watch. Here it is, showing up perfectly as it was on the Euro, showing up on the GFS as well here. And then we have a tropical wave here, out here south of the Cape Verde Islands, one across Central America. A little bit quiet out here towards the Lesser Antilles with that dust as it continues westward here. Now look what starts to happen here. We start to get towards, here's August 2nd. So we're getting into a much more active month here. And as we continue, you can see tropical moisture continuing to remain bottled up across the southeast U.S. here. Gulf is starting to dry out here, but here's the intertropical convergence zone. Dust is starting to thin a little bit here. Central America really getting hit with a lot of tropical waves. So thanks to Tropical Tidbits for this mid-layer dry air analysis. Gives us an idea where the moisture is in mid to upper layers, as well as this dry air associated with the dust. Look at this. Yeah, models were underdoing this last week, and now we're starting to see what's going on. But you can see the train of tropical moisture by Wednesday and Thursday right up the Gulf Coast states into the East Coast. That's where we're going to see the heavier rains. But there's the dust, and we got a big tropical wave moving off the coast here towards the mid to latter part of the week. And as we go in time, that dust is really not going anywhere anytime soon. You can see it thinning out a little bit here, but here's the intertropical convergence zone, and any storms that try to head to the Eastern Caribbean here get kind of choked out by it. And you can see even here into the this is by August 1st, actually, the Gulf of Mexico getting a little bit drier as well as the Western Caribbean. As we head over to the European model, you can see that heavy dust here, dry air, really entrenched out here in the MDR, and that just continues westward. But as you can see, the midpoint of the week, there's that tropical moisture situated across the Gulf Coast states, the southeast, and look at this big expanse of dry air. This is not very conducive for tropical development. We can see a strong low here southwest of the Cape Verde Islands by Wednesday the 24th, but as we head through July 25th here anyways, you can see this low pressure system having a little bit of a harder time. And as we continue to go out here in time, you can essentially see through the end of the month, we do start to see evidence on the European model, this dust starting to retreat a little bit to the north. That allows our intertropical convergence zone to kind of focus its energy and head a little bit further to the north and west here. Sea surface temperature analysis, this is kind of curious. This is a little bit warmer than last analysis. We still got some cool water with the dust, but look at this. This is warming up here pretty quick, as well as the Caribbean, the Gulf, and then off the U.S. East Coast here. So watch out as we head into August. Sea surface temperatures running well above average. So let's go with the CFS weekly precipitation anomalies you can see across the southeast, northern Gulf, East Coast here, and then the MDR out here south of the islands here. And then as we continue towards the first week of July, look what starts to happen here. This bounces into the Eastern Caribbean. This is more in line with the CANCEPS model, which I'll show you momentarily, and here across the southeast and eastern U.S. Now watch this trend as we head through the second week of August. This is from the eastern Gulf of Mexico right up the east coast. So we could be seeing some tropical wave action, that sort of thing, tropical moisture. And then look at this. The tropics really start to push upward here in activity as we head towards the mid to latter part of August here. You can see all this activity blossoming further to the north as that dust will retreat and start to thin. And then look at this here. Eastern U.S., northeastern Caribbean islands, and out here by the Cape Verde Islands. That's where we're going to start to see by the end of July, or the end of August, beginning of September, you can start to see. But this is kind of curious. This model is kind of drying things out a bit and only has some positive anomalies here. All right, so going month by month here on the CANCEPS model. This is August. This model's going crazy here. Look at this. From the MDR, Caribbean, East Coast, Gulf of Mexico, major surge in tropical moisture as we head into September. That retreats a little bit up, but look at this. Here into the southeast, the mid-Atlantic, all the way through the Caribbean and Gulf, and the MDR showing the Cape Verde season really gets cranking out here. And then as we head into October, that just continues. So we could be looking at named storms well into November here, as well as December. So as we get to the Caribbean here, what is going on, everybody down here in Central America? At least this week, the first part of the week looks a little bit drier, but look at that as we head towards next weekend through July 31st here. Look at this surge of tropical moisture here in excess of 100 millimeters here, 3 to 4 inches. Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, you're looking drier as of late. You will start to see some shower and thunder shower activity, though, towards the end of the week, especially towards the last week of July here. And look at this here into the Bahamas as well. Central, northern Bahamas, 60 to 90 millimeters, 2.5, 3 inches of rainfall. As we get into the Eastern Caribbean here, as we head through this week, the first part of the week looks dry through Wednesday here. Then we get through the Lesser Antilles, Trinidad, Tobago, all the way up to St. Vincent, Barbados, these areas seeing about 45, 60 millimeters, an inch to an inch and a half. And then as we get all the way through July 31st here, you can see the heaviest is going to be across the Lesser Antilles. Lighter amounts here, almost nothing here in the northern Lesser Antilles, the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and Dominican Republic. You'll see upwards of 30 to 40 millimeters, nothing more than 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch, and even getting a little bit of rain over here towards the Turks and Caicos as well. All right, so heading out to the Western Pacific, I actually have a couple areas to talk about here. The first one, I don't know why this is not showing up on my software, but this is Tropical Storm Gaemi here. This storm actually is going to affect parts of Taiwan. So as we go out here in time, you can actually see this paralleling the northern Philippines here towards the 23rd. And as we continue in time, this becomes a strong tropical storm, potentially a typhoon here. Here's Taipei, Taiwan, moving just parallel to Taiwan. So there will be impacts here, especially in northern Taiwan towards the 24th here. So as we head into Wednesday morning here towards Thursday, look at this. It's heading more towards China as we head in time here, and then potentially up towards just south of Shanghai here towards the 25th. So as we get into Thursday night in particular, we could be looking at a very big landfall here in the Shanghai region, so as a potential typhoon, and then heading up here towards parts of North Korea. So yeah, this system could re-energize as it heads out over the Yellow Sea here, and then heads northeastward across the Korean Peninsula, more towards the northeast. And our second tropical storm here is Tropical Storm Prapiroon here. This storm is going to be heading across the island of Hainan here. So this system is going to be targeting, it's not going to really have a chance to really develop into anything major, heading up towards moderate tropical storm status before heading over here into the Gulf here of Tonkin. So yeah, this is heading towards China, and eventually landfall looks about to be in 36 to 48 hours. So 2 landfalls with this system, and then it becomes a major heavy rain producer. Across the rest of the Western Pacific, as we head out in time here, we start to see a lot more activity, these tropical waves lining up. And the Eastern Pacific here, we have a couple areas of potential development out here. Got to keep an eye on this for Hawaii, but at least in the short term here, nothing extremely major. These could flare up into depressions or tropical storms. But it is interesting that things are becoming more active out here, just southeast of the Hawaiian Islands. So our HRRR future radar here. Let's take a look, see what's going on. All the activity, or most of the activities here, are going to be bottled up across the southeast and the Midwest. You can see the Gulf Coast states, a lot of gully washers, those scattered and isolated showers and thunderstorms, even up towards the mid-Atlantic here, and our next system here across the Midwest. So let's just zoom in. Bahamas, even the northern Bahamas, really getting in on the act. Look at all this moisture across the Gulf. Now, as we get towards midnight, overnight, Sunday night into Monday morning, they kind of tone down a little bit, especially along the Gulf Coast, because the daytime heating goes away. But look at that, cranking here across northeast Georgia all the way through North Carolina. That just continuing. We do see that moisture push. Look at, we start to get up here into the Ohio Valley towards 9 a.m. on Monday morning. So maybe some showers as far north as Cleveland, Erie, Pittsburgh here. That moisture streaming northward, and we could be getting in on the act of some shower and stronger thunderstorm. Most of these will be more heavy rain, isolated flash flooding potential all the way up here into parts of the southern tier of New York. South central Pennsylvania here, and look at the moisture here bottled up across Texas, especially southeastern Texas, the Gulf Coast area, South Florida here into the Bahamas as well, picking up some beneficial rain. So yeah, look at here into the northeast. This is by 3 p.m. on Monday afternoon, and look at that heading to the northeast. Lots of gully washers, as I call them here. So if you need the rain, you're going to pick up some beneficial rain where these thunderstorms do set up here. Look at the Susquehanna River Valley getting plastered here with heavy big time heavy thunderstorms here with heavy rain. And then look at towards 1 a.m. on Tuesday morning. We're actually shifting this towards southeastern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, up here towards the Finger Lakes of New York State, and then up towards Vermont and New Hampshire as well. Look at this. So as we head towards New York City here, 3 a.m. on Tuesday morning, look at this. This starts to pull off to the northeast, and most of, as we head into Tuesday here, most of New England getting socked in with rainfall here. Now, as we head into the southeast here, backtracking, you can see all these showers and thunderstorms as we head towards 2 a.m. on Tuesday morning. They kind of wane a little bit, and then look at that. The daytime heating pops up, and we start to get these pop-up showers and thunderstorms, an area across western Tennessee here as well. So picking up where our HRRR future radar left off, you can see here as we head towards later Monday into Tuesday, look at that surge of tropical moisture, especially across the mid-Atlantic, southeast, and then here across southeast Texas as well. The daytime heating will really stir up this shower and thunderstorm activity. As we go out here in time towards the 23rd, you can see that slug of moisture making it up into the northeast parts of the mid-Atlantic. It's kind of backed off a little bit here on the Euro, but still looking at some beneficial rains for parts of the northeast. I know New Jersey, parts of New England definitely need the rain. But as we head into the 24th, into the 25th, you can see another surge of tropical moisture here as we head towards Thursday. Even the Ohio Valley with a low pressure system and a cold front will be moving through. Out west here, we're not looking at too much activity. There's that Bermuda high sitting just off the coastline here. As we head through the 25th into the 26th, look what starts to happen here. This is not going to help you much from Louisiana to the Carolinas, where you'll still be socked in with heavy rain here. But look at high pressure building in across the lakes in the northeast. That should kick this moisture out of the picture with even lower humidity in time here towards July 26th, the 27th here. You can see we surge that moisture just off the mid-Atlantic coast and start to pivot it more towards the Gulf Coast states and the Carolinas. I know in the Carolinas you're getting sick of the rain, but unfortunately it seems to be here to stay here as a low pressure system tries to organize off the coastline here. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, as well as moisture, slug of tropical moisture here into the southeast as well. And look at that, on the west side of this Bermuda high, we might start to see some persistent thunderstorms here where we might actually see some kind of low pressure try to close off here. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Our next system holding back here across the Midwest, and heavy rain continuing with those tropical afternoon, especially rainfall. So as we take a look at rainfall amounts here, first on the GFS this week, all the way through the end of the month. Look at this. This is a lot of rain here across the southeast. I told you about the access of the heaviest tropical downpours being in the 4 to 8 inch range here from eastern Texas to the Carolinas. even another bullseye up here in Pennsylvania, New York, parts of western New England. And then generalized areas outside of this, you know, 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. All right, so the European run here, as we head through this week, you can see where the heaviest rain is going to be from the mid-Atlantic, Carolinas, down through the Gulf Coast states, even including Florida here. But the 4 to 8-inch range here is definitely from eastern Texas, the Gulf Coast states, up through the Carolinas. And then up into the Northeast, the European has toned it down compared to the GFS. We're in that 1.5 inch, close to 2-inch range in some of these areas. So Canadian weather here. How's everybody doing up here in Canada? As we continue in time, most of the activity near the United States-Canadian border is going to be in southern Manitoba, western and central Ontario here. We'll see some shower and thunderstorm action. Most of the rest of the activity is going to be bottled up here in northern Canada, some clouds and some showers here into the Canadian Maritimes. But watch this. This high pressure builds to the southeast. It's going to push this system into southern Ontario here as we head towards the 23rd into the 24th. So Wednesday or Tuesday into Wednesday, that's your day here across southern Ontario and Quebec for shower and thunderstorm activity. That moves out for later Thursday into Friday. Look at that nice area of high pressure building in. So if you've got vacation up here into Canada, looking really nice. Our next system way across the northern Great Plains of, say, Saskatchewan into Manitoba here. And then as we continue in time, eastern, especially southeastern Canada here stays very quiet, which is nice. But look at this. We got some stronger thunderstorms and heavier rain that could be moving across Manitoba into northern and central Ontario here. That dives across parts of Quebec here towards the 30th into the 31st. We might actually see a cold front trying to push across southern Ontario and Quebec, so watch out for that. So for Canadian rainfall here, you're pretty dry, with the exception for parts of eastern Ontario there, into northern Quebec, and then the northern provinces of British Columbia, these areas out here. This is where the activity is going to be way up here in northwestern Canada and way up here in northeastern Canada. Much drier conditions except near the Minnesota border here across western Ontario and Manitoba areas. Most of these areas will see 50 to as much as 90 millimeters of rainfall, about 1.5 inches, close to 3 inches. And before we continue, don't go anywhere. I got plenty more weather for you. Take a look at these awesome maps from my affiliate.
I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code.
So if we take a look at temperatures through this week, look at Monday. It's a lot more temperate this week in the east. Mostly 80s, even some 80s all the way down to New Orleans here. 90s in Florida and eastern Texas. But look at all these 80s here across the Ohio Valley, northeast, and hundreds all the way up into Washington State here. As we progress throughout the week, you can essentially see here, look at this cooler shot of air. Of course, there will be rainfall moving up through the south here, 90s into the Carolinas, and then out west, you're just continuing to bake. But watch as we go throughout the week here. We start to cool things off, even 70s here in the Appalachians, 80s in the Ohio Valley, and parts of the Northeast as well, some upper 70 readings and some of those higher elevations. And look at this, heat starts expanding eastward as the Northwest cools a little bit. That heat's going to be heading east. Now we got that shot of 70s here across the lakes, the midpoint of the week as we head into Friday. Look at this. Yeah, it's still nice across the Northeast, although you'll be dealing with the rainfall moving out at this point. Temperatures starting to warm up behind all this precipitation into the mid to upper 80s, and we start to really warm it on Saturday. Some readings getting close to 90 and 90s out here in the plains. Extended forecast from our hometown viewers, Binghamton to Scranton, Upper Susquehanna River Valley of New York and Pennsylvania. We are looking at showers and thunderstorm potential Monday afternoon, but more so on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, where we'll see a half to as much as 3/4 of an inch of rain, especially Thursday as the frontal boundaries moving through. But we're going to see a surge of tropical moisture feeding right up into the Susquehanna River Valley. That's going to bring those heavier tropical downpours, showers, and thunderstorms likely during these days. And then Friday, only a chance of showers as we get a nicer trend for the weekend. Temperatures hovering in the mid-80s. As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget it's MeteoMark.com, and don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, Super Thanks. You can smash that Super Thanks button or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks, everyone. Share that video. Subscribe if you haven't. Smash that like button.